Romo Aldo. I've been doing a radio show now since January 2010 on WITR 89.7 FM. That wasn't where I started, but I kind of count that because to me I count that as the official start of when I started everything. I have a website, 868foxstreet.com, which is my blog website. I got into house music by being a part of the scene from its infancy growing up in New York City. Back in the days when in the projects, you would have two DJs on either side of a rec center, and they would battle for who could draw the biggest audience playing on turntables. That was very new at the time, and that was very hot. It wasn't something I sought out just from being in the circles. It was what we listened to. It was what, you at the time, cassette tapes were a thing, and that's boom boxes were ending and they were getting smaller and all that kind of stuff. And but that was the thing at the time. The mix became very popular. The mixtape. That's where you get the mixtape. And but I was in that culture as a observer, participant. Just listening, going to the dances, the not so much the big clubs like Rose and all that, but because I was in New York City, but I lived in the boroughs. So you go to the house parties where these guys, the local DJs, just doing their thing, and you're just having a great time. And those. That is what I think I'm trying to emulate in what I do, because that's what I remember is those little privater house parties that just were just, to me, probably, it's probably nice in the big club and everything, but it just had a different style, a distinct style to it, You got to hear a lot more soul there, and the party just had life, and, it would vibe, and then it would be quick, and then it would slow down, and people would drink, and they would, mingle, and, people might be playing cards over here or backgammon over there. It was a lifestyle, It was a good time to hang out and be a part of that culture, and it still is. This is early 70s at least, if not a little bit before. But I was just there. It wasn't something. Somehow I was just in that scene. It wasn't something I sought out. It just has always been. I've always loved house music. I've always collected vinyl, and I always had a setup in whatever. I always had a DJ setup and hobbied on my own for years. It was just a setup, and it wasn't till probably 7 years ago that I really thought of giving it a real shot at making a go of it. My house music influences. The biggest one that comes to mind, I want to say, is Frankie Knuckles, because he was in that era. The late 70s, when house music started taking hold electronically, and I remember buying a lot of vinyl back in the day that it was cutting edge, but it was totally electronic, and a lot of it was from Chicago. It was a big, and this debate rages today is whether Chicago is the birth of house or whether New York is the birth of house, and I kind of think it germinated both sort of at the same time, but each region has its own style of house. So I don't understand what the big debate is. Can't we just all get along? But Chicago house is just as good as New York City house. But Frankie Knuckles, Masters at Work, the team of Kenny Dope and Little Louie Vega. By far the first, the best, the classic producing music duo ever in house. They are at the top, And there's many, Blaze, I could go on and go on. One of my biggest influences, and he starts the show every week, is DJ Scratch and Sniff. He takes the soul stuff from the 50s, 60s, and he remixes it, but he keeps it true to the original. Influences today are pretty much the same influences from back in the day. I like Bruno Browning. He's out of Chicago. Glenn Gregory, a big producer right now. Lifford Shillingsford, a great vocalist. Stephanie Cook, Jocelyn Brown. I mean, all the people that love what they do in the house are still around today, and that's the beautiful part about it. I mean, today I participate in the podcasting realm. My website is pretty much my blog for the house scene, but that's how. I mean, I just started out on Facebook, sharing with friends. From there, friends urged me, to get more into it. I applied for the communication program at the University of Rochester, Rochester Institute of Technology, for the communication program there, and so that I felt that would be a part for my friends to get me that way, and then it also added a live element that I'm not used to when I do the podcast and stuff, and so I really like that. And some people just tune in for the classic opener, which I think is fabulous, and they just want to see which track I'm going to bring up. Most of the time it's from the 60s, 70s, and it's a pretty cool following, even just that. I've been on the air now 4.5 years, and officially the iTunes podcast, I want to say, was the fall of 2009 I started that. But people have always been downloading my stuff through, the different file sharing services and stuff that, if they need I can give them a link to or whatever if they don't have iTunes or another way to download it, What I like about here is the fact that I just have the opportunity to do the radio show, which has garnered me the opportunity to share with a new audience, a different audience. And actually, there are people that tune in every week from around the world and listen in, and it's pretty cool. A lot of potential. I think there's a lot of potential for growth. I think the type of house music I'm playing has a lot of potential for growth. And the reason why I'm saying that is because what I'm about to embark on now, I want to expand, because a lot of these artists that I'm playing, I could have come to the area, but we have to create the market for them in this area. Whether it's Buffalo, whether it's Rochester, whether it's Syracuse, Toronto, Montreal. Toronto, I wouldn't have a problem. Toronto, big, awesome scene out there. But in this area here, I think the market is ripe for it. It's just that we have to market it where get people listening to it, which is what I'm doing right now. When people say there's more to house music than just bang, 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 and they'll be like, wow, I can listen to this while I'm driving. I can listen to this while I'm cleaning. And then when they go to the club that's playing this, so it's a marketing strategy in the back of my mind that I'm doing, and everything's going according to plan right now. In my past, for a short time, without getting into a lot of details, in between living in foster homes for a short time, I was living with my grandmother, and this is in Philadelphia, and hanging out with a group of us. It was just a great time. It was 1, 2, 3, 4 of us, and what was big back in the day, then, we used to do what was called stepping, and there's different versions of it now. But what we used to do back in the day, stepping, is we had a drummer, and then there was a leader, and the 4 of us would march around Philadelphia neighborhoods, and we march, stop, do our routines, and then that led into a song by the Delphonics. We started getting into harmonizing and all that kind of stuff. And Didn't I Blow Your Mind This Time is one of the first songs I can consciously remember, or the other song, La La La, it means I love you. I mean, dude, that was pure soul, man. That was a time when hope and in the music, in the early 60s, mid 60s, especially when times were changing and you know, it was just a great, and the music was just fabulous, and that's what I think about that song. Moving up a couple of years after that, the Frankie Knuckles the Whistle song, because when that album came out, I'm trying to think, had I got turntables yet? Yes, I had turntables then, and then and that album just amazed me because it was so unhouse-like, and it was house because it just embodied everything soul is, but with the house vibe, and that there was just, that was the second one. For a second song, I would have to say it's the Whistle song by Frankie Knuckles. Now, I love what's going on in the South African scene. South African music right now, oh my God, in the pop scene, in the reggae scene, in the hip hop scene, in the house scene, just exploding. So what I've been doing over time, if you're a long time listener, I've been incorporating more African. I try to do half English, half African, because eventually, with my other property, Sweet House Rhythm, that's a deeper, jazzier world house mix, followed by, that's a deeper, jazzier, deep house mix, followed by a world house mix, which is always African, French, some other language, and that's really popular. And the stuff that's kind of English that I want to incorporate in the house rhythm radio, because some of that stuff is really good. And African music, there's this chick right now, Tandy Dry, that I play, like D-R-A-A-I, Tandy Dry. Dude, she's phenomenal. She's hot right now. She has a track called Journey to My Heart that I just love right now. And a lot of the South African stuff is just phenomenal. It's fresh. They have a different take on it, which embodies what I say when, to me, there's three things that house music mean to me, and it's about love, life, dance. And the people that listen to me understand that, and that's what we are. We're about love, life, and dance. Buffalo, going to Buffalo, coming up here later on this month. Thank you very much.